Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello. To the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie, let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song.
Check it out, I'm the CASN, the OVA, and the rest is FLY. You see, I go by the code of the doctor of the mix, and these reasons I'll tell you why. You see, I'm 6'1", and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a T. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got bodyguards, I got two big guns, I definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental and some new Cadillac. So after school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. I got a color TV so I can see.
Well, I've been on the team for 4 weeks, and I think it was the best move for me from Benson. Well, I'm around great wrestlers, and that's the environment I feel I need to be in to become a state champion and all that.
Everybody go hotel, holiday inn. Say if your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend. I'm at the G, my mellow is on you, so what you gonna do?
Well, it's on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I said a M-A-S, a T-E-R, a G with a double E. I said I go by the unforgettable name of the man they call a Master G. Well, my name is known all over the world by all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls. I'm going down in history as the baddest rapper that ever could be. Now I'm feeling the highs and you're feeling the lows. The beat starts getting into your toes. You start pumping your fingers and stomping your feet and moving your body while you're sitting in your seat. And then damn, they start doing the freak. I said bam, right out of your seat. Then you throw your hands high in the air. You're rocking to the beat, so you're daring air. You're rocking to the beat without a care. Cruise the show and shot MCs for the affair. Now I'm not as tall as the rest of the gang, but I rap to the beat just the same. I got a little face and a pair of rhyme eyes. All I'm here to do, ladies, is hypnotize. Sing it on and on and on.
Be sure to catch the district swim meet today and tomorrow at PCC Sylvania and all the basketball tonight at Benson. On Monday, January 25th, in a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court said that an innocent person can be put to death as long as he or she has a fair trial. The Texas case involved a man, Leonel Herrera, who claimed to have new evidence on his innocence in a murder case. The Supreme Court said that since the new evidence was not introduced within 30 days of the original trial, he could not have a new one and would still be put to death. Chief Justice William Rehnquist said, "A claim of actual innocence is not in itself a constitutional claim." One of 3 justices who voted against the decision, Harry Blackmun, said, "I believe it is contrary to the standards of decency to execute someone who is actually innocent, and that in itself comes perilously close to simple murder."
Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall and musician-composer Dizzy Gillespie recently passed away. Here are retrospectives of their lives and accomplishments done by Ime Ituk and Vincent Mazza.
Supreme Court Justice and Civil Rights Revolution leader Thurgood Marshall died Sunday, January 24th of heart problems. Born in 1908, he was appointed the first black Associate Justice of the Supreme Court in 1967 by President Lyndon Johnson. Many remember Thurgood for his 24-year service on the Supreme Court and for his sharp wit in the courtroom. Such as the time in 1981 during a death penalty argument when an Associate Justice suggested that the inmates' appeals were costing the taxpayers too much money. Marshall interrupted saying, "It would have been cheaper to shoot him right after the arrest, wouldn't it?" Marshall was the driving force behind the right to end segregation in all walks of life. This drive was fueled by an incident in his own life. He was refused admission to the University of Maryland because he was black. He went to Howard, graduating first in his class of 1933. Upon graduation, one of the cases he argued was that of a young black man who was also refused admission to the University of Maryland. It was a chance to personally desegregate the school that kept him out, and that's exactly what he did. During his 20 years as the chief of counsel for the NAACP, he tried many cases, including the Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954. That story was portrayed in a television movie by Sidney Poitier, Separate but Equal. His death touched the lives of many Americans. President Bill Clinton and Vice President Al Gore sat with their wives watching the funeral services, along with the millions of television viewers, the 3,500 people who were able to get inside, and the large crowd outside. The ceremony was as much a celebration as it was a mourning. The Howard University Choir sang the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which Thurgood Marshall had often suggested should be the national anthem. The service was closed with Lift Every Voice and Sing, the song known as the Black National Anthem. Marshall stayed on the Supreme Court longer than he wanted to because he had hoped to see a Democratic president in office and to see the conservative court change. In 1991, his ill health couldn't withstand the pressures, and he retired. When he left the Supreme Court, Thurgood Marshall had done more to change the face of racial discrimination laws in the U.S. than anyone. Thurgood Marshall was born into a world into which people did not think he would succeed. But through trials and tribulations, he came out on top. And he is an example to all Americans.
Trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie, one of the greatest jazz musicians, died January 4th at the age of 75. Dizzy and Charlie Parker were the founders of the bebop jazz movement. Dizzy also met musicians in Cuba who helped him found Afro-Cuban jazz. Dizzy was well known all over the world. His band was the first jazz group to be sponsored by the US State Department for a world tour. He was very popular in France, where he was considered one of the best musicians who ever lived. His popularity came with the songs A Night in Tunisia, Cherokee, and Manteca. Dizzy was born in 1917 in Cherry Road, South Carolina, and given the name John Burns Gillespie. In 1935, fellow band member gave him the nickname Dizzy because of his sense of humor and his crazy behavior. In 1940, Dizzy met sax player Charlie Parker, who became, in Gillespie's words, the other side of my heartbeat. Gillespie and Parker are considered two of the four jazz music revolutionaries. The other two are Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington. In 1964, Dizzy ran for president. He had some solid ideas. He expressed sincere dedication to the principle of African American rights and the fight to win these rights. He also kept his sense of humor while running for office. He proposed naming fellow trumpeter Louis Armstrong as Secretary of Agriculture. Dizzy Gillespie is best known for his bent trumpet and his massive, puffy cheeks. His arm got bent in 1953 when he was accidentally kicked across the stage, but Dizzy decided he liked the song. His cheeks were famous in medical circles, as well as the jazz world. Dizzy Gillespie was a great musician. People who love jazz will never forget him. His music and his sense of humor will live forever.
Those two will surely be missed. In another sad note in the art world, Rudolf Nureyev, ballet's first male superstar, died of age-related cardiac complications last month at the age of 54. He was born March 17, 1938, and grew up in poverty in the Soviet Union. Although Nureyev took some ballet classes as a youth, his full-time training did not begin until he was 17. Within 3 years, Nureyev was dancing lead roles with Leningrad's renowned ballet. During a visit to Paris in 1961, he defected from the Soviet Union. It has been called one of the greatest leaps in ballet history. His fans and friends will always remember January 4, 1993, the day Rudolf Nureyev, ballet superstar, died.
PCC is having an African Film Festival. We sent Chris Damcke out for a look.
In honor of African History Month, PCC's Cascade Campus is having the 3rd annual African Film Festival. The festival includes films from Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, Cameroon, Mali, and Zaire. Each week of February, there is a different film. The films show at 2 p.m. Wednesday and 7 p.m. Thursday at the Daryll Hall Conference Room. Admission is free to all showings. The two movies left on this schedule are Sango Malo from Cameroon, which shows February 17th and February 18th, and Zamboko from Burkina Faso, which shows on February 24th and February 25th. There is also a double feature Saturday, February 13th of Winkune from Burkina Faso and La Vie est Belle from Zaire beginning at 2 p.m. After the films are shown, there is a discussion period where you can talk and ask questions about the movie. Baba Wagi Diaksteed and Joseph Smith Buwane lead the discussion period.
I think the overall, one of the goals of the film festival itself is to teach an aspect of another culture. Yes. You know, we want to share African culture with Americans that have an interest in African culture. Because and at the end of the film, there are questions that are raised by this, you know, the particular film. So we want to be able to answer some of those questions. We won't be able to answer all the questions.
Most people from here have only one vision about Africa. You know, it's got to be animal, or they think the whole Africa lifestyle is based on Muslim religion and, you know, things like that. But films like that is not religious. It doesn't have to see anything with religion. This is African among themselves and trying to do, trying to show. Most of these films are, you know, actually things that happened in the past. Okay, and this has been our cultural thing for thousands of years. Even the folk tale is something that we pick from day-to-day happening.
This has been Chris Damcke and Mookie Crooks reporting from PCC's Cascade campus for JTV News.
Don't miss your chance to see these views of Africa through the eyes of a filmmaker. On Friday, January 29th, Oregon State Representative Liz Van Leeuwen introduced a bill that would require every Oregon household to own a gun and have someone trained to use it. Van Leeuwen proposed the bill at the request of 4 gun dealers. The gun ownership bill also calls for firearms safety training in high schools. If passed, the bill will not apply to convicted felons, the mentally incompetent, and households that cannot afford a gun. However, the bill does not provide a penalty for not owning a gun.
In other related news, the Oregon Senate is considering a law that would make it a felon to carry a gun, loaded or not, or other dangerous weapon into or within 1,000 feet of a school. Gun dealers are opposing the law, citing the fact that only 3 gun dealers in Portland are not within 1,000 feet of a school. There was also objection to the part of the proposed law that would require a person with a concealed weapon permit to notify the principal of a school, who could then ask the person to leave. Portland Public Schools Superintendent Jack Beerworth said, "Weapons do not belong in schools whether someone has a permit or not." Valentine's is 2 days away, so for this week's question of the week, Rabia asked, "What are you doing for your Valentine?"
My Valentine's gonna be Neil Blessing Gang, and I'm gonna get him something special.
His name is Byron Robinson, and I'm gonna get him something, some balloons and something like that.
Get a couple of roses. I ain't gonna get a 12 roses. I'm gonna get a 13 just to show that lady I'm gonna go the extra mile for her. Like that. Get a box of heart-shaped chocolates and everything like that, and a card. And a ring to show my love and appreciation for my baby. Keisha, I love you.
Since I don't have one, I haven't thought about it, so maybe if I get one, if it was him, I'd give him a kick in his butt, because, you know, that's all he gets. Maybe a little something else, but
I don't have no Valentine, and I get her the last thing, you know. I got her last year, you know. Get the same thing this year.
What is that?
Nothing.
My girlfriend, I'm gonna get her everything she needs. Me.
All the females gonna be mine. So I'm gonna get them, you know what's up. Love and all that. Let me get it. Shamika.
Valentine, is you crazy? Boys these days?
Nah, you know who's gonna be my Valentine though? Miss Boozer.
Mr. Bruce, who's gonna be your Valentine this year?
Me. This is my Valentine.
Oh, I want somebody to know this. Jason Warren is my Valentine this time.
I hope that gave you some good ideas for your Valentines. Within the first 2 weeks of taking office, President Bill Clinton took actions to keep some of his election promises. During the first week of February, President Clinton signed a family emergency leave bill, which had been vetoed earlier by President Bush. The president also took steps to lift bans against homosexuals serving in the armed forces. In an unexpected move, President Clinton also proposed a plan to provide free vaccinations to children in the United States. All of these actions have drawn criticism and praise from some circles.
Andre Baker and Daryll English are two talented dancers here at Jeff. Here's Christina Baltazar with a look at this talent.
Well, I begin the weekend with a groove, roll about 8 deep. Now what's my next move? Wait until nightfall so I can enjoy. System pumped by 4 Jeeps, running like a convoy. Roll to the front, kinda crowded, what a scene. Pulling up with Jodeci, blasting up the 15.
The dancing that we do is mainly hip hop, but we don't do the same dances like other people do. We try to make up our own.
Dance, baby, do that dance, let's work it out. Lounging on the DL, the cybernight is rare. I glance to the right, oh who do we have there? Papa Steve getting rich, what the hell? I see Mr. Uptown and South Andre around. Conversating with his boys as they start the bar straight through the...
The way we make up our routines is that we usually just think of stuff by playing around. Sometimes it was pretty smooth, so we just added it in.
Do that dance, baby, do that dance, let's work it out. Do that dance, baby, do that dance, do that dance. Do that dance, do that dance, baby, do that dance, let's work it out. Do that dance.
We started dancing, well I started dancing like 4 years ago.
I started dancing when I was 10. When I used to watch videos, I used to try to do little dance steps.
I'm trying to find him. Tim is in the front and Mobetta's right behind him. And me, I'm just laying on the prowl. Gotta say what's up as the girls cry out. She grabbed her man, I think she tried to play him.
My goals is to graduate from high school, go to college and play football. I'm trying to get professional.
What's up as the girls cry out. She grabbed her man, I think she tried to play him. My only thought was the step to the...
My plan for the future is graduate from high school, probably go to college, be a dance choreographer.
on the dance floor ripping. Sickers with a cutie, the key I'm trying to find him. Tim is in the front and Mobetta's right behind him. And me, I'm just laying on...
In international news, talks between French President François Mitterrand and Vietnamese officials this week could mean an end to a U.S. economic embargo against former adversary Vietnam. France and Vietnam signed agreements to protect foreign capital and encourage foreign investments. Negotiations may restore relations broken when the Vietnamese army defeated French colonialism in 1954 on the battlefield of Dien Bien Phu. The U.S. fought the North Vietnamese after the French defeat until withdrawing in 1975. As a result of the new trade initiatives, the U.S. has begun to reconsider the trade embargo against Vietnam. Mitterrand is the first Western leader to visit Vietnam since its reunification in 1975.
If you've been down King Boulevard recently, you might have seen the billboards celebrating African American history. Alana has a story on that.
Almost overnight, a strip of Martin Luther King Boulevard between Fremont and Killingsworth was transformed into an African American experience. Students from 8 Portland high schools participated in the Van Grack African American History Celebration High School Art Project. The objective of the project was to develop an appreciation and understanding for the African American experience. and helped students to cultivate teamwork skills and commitment. Students worked in groups and as individuals on a concept which they then expressed in art form, to be transferred from an 8 1/2 by 11-inch piece of paper to several billboard panels measuring 12 feet by 25 feet. North Pacific Sign and Design provided a warehouse for the student teams where they drew and painted their artwork to scale. Each school then delivered a statement about the artwork and the concept behind it to Portlanders at the project's unveiling ceremony held in the Lloyd Center Mall. Artist statements and original work will be on display at the mall for the remainder of Black History Month. We should applaud each of those responsible and dedicated students like Jefferson's own Matthew Alexander, who volunteered their time and energy to create a little beauty for our community to celebrate its rich heritage. This has been Alana Dixon for JTV News.
Congratulations and thanks to all those involved.
I got a chance to visit our Teen Health Center, and here's my story on that. Did you know right here at Jeff you could get free health care? That's right. In the Teen Health Center, they provide many services, including sports and routine physicals, prescription for pregnancy prevention prior to counseling, and family planning services. I got a chance to speak with the community health lead nurse about the clinic.
Our intention is to provide comprehensive health services. So if you're coming in for family planning and we talk with you and you tell us that you have headaches also, we may do some problem solving around the headaches. Or if you have a sore throat, you've come in and we've seen you, we can take care of your sore throat. We can take care of if you injure your finger or you stub your toe, those kinds of things. We can make initial assessment. We're not geared to do a full gamut of medical care. We don't do suturing here, so if you have a major cut here, we may refer you on to a different provider, or if you have a broken bone, we don't have x-ray facilities here.
If you are under the age 15, you must get parental consent to receive sports or routine physicals or prescription medicine. The exception to that rule is you can receive prescriptions for pregnancy prevention and STD treatment and education and family planning.
People of any age can come in to this office and get family planning, counseling, and information, and actually get a method prescribed to them if they need it. As we offer the full gamut, right now we're able to offer birth control pills. We can offer condoms on site. We can offer the Norplant, which is done at an outside facility. We do Depo-Provera, which is an injection now, an injectable hormone that we can do. And of course, Semi-Sid and sponges we do offer. The intention is to keep things very confidential, and that's what we take a lot of pride in. So basically, when a student comes here, it is confidential information.
The Teen Health Center has many other qualified staff members, like Stephanie Hollow, nurse practitioner, Betty Jones, medical assistant, Ron Hunt, the mental health consultant, Kristen Brayton, the family nurse practitioner, and Maggie Burks, the office assistant. If you need to visit the Teen Health Center, you have to make an appointment. This is Rabia Williams for JTV News.
It's worth it to check it out. Now here's Christina with some highlights of the Chinese New Year Tet.
Think of it this way. Your birthday, the 4th of July, and Christmas all rolled into one. That's how important the Lunar New Year is to the people of China and Vietnam. A 3-day celebration marks the coming of the new year, but those involved spend a whole month in preparation for the big event. Of all their holidays, this is the biggest and the best. Asians who celebrate are cheering the end of the winter harvest and the beginning of spring planting, which comes with the first full moon. As opposed to our calendar, which is based on the sun, the lunar calendar is based on the moon. The Lunar New Year always falls between January 21st and February 20th. This year, it started on January 22nd, and it's the year of the rooster. The Chinese zodiac is a 12-year cycle, and each year is named for an animal.
Like every 12 years, every year we have an animal represent for the year, and like after 12 years, there will be a rooster coming for that year. Then after next 12 years, there another bird.
Many local Asian students didn't let the Lunar New Year pass without their own celebration. Students of Jefferson celebrated in the cafeteria with food, song, and dance. Celebrations of the Lunar New Year were fun and educational for students as well as faculty. This has been Christina Baltazar for JTV News.
Well, that's it for this edition of JTV News.
Our next show will be February 26th during 6th period, and I hope you tune in again.
See you later.
Bye.